In this video, we're going to talk about RStudio setup. If you click here, you're going to land in another book that I like a lot, also by Jenny Bryan, and I think Jim Hester as well. This section of the book talks about the idea of always restarting R with a blank slate. That means that you want every R session to be independent of any other R session. So if there is any artifact from a prior session, that should not be reloaded into your new session. And in the same way, if this one session generates some artifacts, it should not be saved to be reused in the next session. So that is the idea of starting always with a blank slate. So for that, we want to set up our RStudio IDE with this little box unchecked and with this menu set to never. So let's do that. Do I have RStudio here? Yes. So we go to Tools, Global Options, and in the very first tab here in R General, then we make sure that this box is unchecked and this one says never, right? If you have that, then you're good to go. But by default, this is not the case, so you do have to come here and do that yourself. There is not a lot more that it's important to set up, but I'm going to show some settings that I do like a lot, and one in particular that I recommend a lot. So under General, you see the tab Code, and the second tab here says Display. So that tab, if it works, has a bunch of options. I like them all, so I check them all. And this one I think is new for me, so that's why it's not checked, but I'm not sure what it does. The one that I think is most important is this one here, the margin column, to show a margin. What that does is to show this line here, this gray line vertical here marks a width of 80 characters, and that gives you a reference so that when you type code A, B, C, blah, 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 you keep going. So you know, okay, I have reached the limit of 80 characters, sorry, so it's time to break and start a new line. EDF, blah, 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 blah. So if you don't do that and you go overboard, what's happening here on the right is not on screen for people like me and many others who by convention set their screens to show 80 characters, so they have some space, some real estate on their screen to do other things, like for example to show a terminal here on my right, so I can type anything here. So if you go overboard, then you force your reviewers of code to scroll to the right. That alone doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you're reviewing a lot of code, like moving your fingers in your keyboard to do that, it starts becoming annoying, and just breaks the flow of the review. So a lot of tools automatically also advise you to do that. Then they take longer lines and they ask you to reflow your code, and maybe some of them do it automatically, I don't know. So that's all for setup. We're going to be talking about other ways in which you can set up RStudio to do a few things that you want, but that's going to be the focus of another video. So for now, I'll leave it at that. Most crucially, start always with a blank slate.